Hello, everyone. Welcome to a APH Partner Showcase. I haven't done one of these in a little while, but thank you for joining us today. This is one that we are working with our partner, Audiojack. In fact, we're calling this particular one Play It Again, Audiojack, and you will get an understanding of why we chose that title in a little bit. Again, this is a partner showcase, so this is a little different than our Access Academy webinars. There is no ACV REP credit today. However, there's going to be a lot of great information about Audiojack. So thank you for joining us. We do have our traditional polls that we like to start with. We want to know basic information. We want to know what your job title is, where you are from, and how you heard about this webinar. Those are our standard questions. But then we have a couple of other additional questions. Have you attended a webinar on Audiojack? I don't think we're necessarily meaning it just has to be one of ours, but have you attended a webinar on Audiojack? Yes or no? Or I'm not sure. Are you currently using Audiojack? Yes or no? So you please answer those two poll questions along with the regular ones that we have out there. So 5 total questions for you today to answer as we get things rolling here in just a moment. This again is a partner showcase. It's an opportunity for one of our partners to get into whatever it is that they want to tell you about their product. We appreciate their partnership, and we think it's a great opportunity for them just to let you know different things that are happening with them and what they're doing. As a result, as we said, there is no ACV REP credit. Do expect to be with us for an hour today. If we don't quite reach the full hour, that's fine, but that's the plan, is to be here for 1 hour. The chat is definitely going to be open. And we'll probably make active use of that chat today. Our presenter is David Tobin, who is the CEO and the founder of Audiojack. And I'm going to turn this over to Betsy Ann here in a moment, who's going to look at the poll results. And once we do that, we're going to kick it over to David, who's going to just run this show, however it is that he sees fit today. So Betsy Ann, what's the story with the polls?
All right. So before we hand things over to David, we're going to be doing some really fun activities today. We're going to be listening to some audio jacks, and we want to have the most time possible to experience that and do some creative writing. So let's go through these quickly. We only have 6 people have participated in this poll, so keep filling it out while I give the early results. For the question of what is your job title, 33% said TVI, 17% said O&M instructor, 17% said Braille transcriber, but most are saying other. So go ahead and write in the chat what your job title is. For the question, where are you from? We've got good representation from the Southeast, Southwest, and Midwest parts of the United States. How'd you hear about this webinar? Those emails are still working for you, and some of you found this webinar on the APH website. For our 2 content-specific questions today, the first one was, have you attended a webinar on Audiojack? 67% say no. 33% said they have attended a webinar on Audiojack, maybe one of ours, maybe you've tuned in to an Audiojack production, but only 33% have that experience. And for our final question, are you currently using Audiojack? Do you have that download? And are you tuning in on your own with your class, or maybe in a recreational setting? 100% say no. So we don't have folks who have downloaded it yet, but I bet by the end, we're going to have a few folks who are going to download. So we're going to end that poll. I'll stop screen sharing, and David, we turn it over to you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Betsy. And it's so funny seeing that picture because I have short hair there and I haven't cut my hair in almost 2 years now. So it's crazy. I mean, for those of you that are using the visual element today, yeah, it's like a foot long now when you pull it out. It's crazy. I've never had long hair like that. But we're here to talk about Audiojack and not my grooming habits. So very excited to have everyone here today. For those of you that aren't familiar with Audiojack, we're going to go into a little bit about what that is. We have some fantastic features that have been added that were requests from our visually impaired audience and members that wanted us to make some changes to the app, add some new features, and we heard you, we listened, and we figured out how to make it work, and now they exist. And I'm very excited because it's really neat to be able to not only create content that you're looking for and to help with different activities and different ways you use Audiojack, but the most important thing is that we can actually take your feedback and do something with it. And I'm really excited to go into that. So I think, Betsy, I should just kind of explain what an Audiojack is first and then get into it. What do you think? Sound good?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Awesome. So an Audiojack is an audio-based movie. It's also the name of the product in our company. We decided to just make it super confusing and call everything Audiojack, or really easy. I don't know. If you do a search for it, it's Audiojack, all one word. Don't put that space in there. That's the thing you plug in your computer. But in Audiojack, it's an audio-based movie. There's no words. There's no talking, no dialogue. There's no music, and there's no video. It's hundreds of sounds edited together to tell a story for your imagination. So you'll close your eyes and listen, and you might hear the wind and trees blowing, and then you hear feet. They stop, and then a door opens. Well, your imagination and memory are going to create a story based on what you're hearing. And the wonderful thing about this is we never tell you the story behind any of the Audiojacks. There's a title and they're in different categories, but the actual narrative is up to you. So it gives you that freedom to engage with it however you see fit. And for those of you that are visually impaired, it really creates a wonderful way to connect with someone who does have the visual elements in their life, because this creates a universal playing field, because there's no visual construct with an Audiojack. And there's no language barrier or race barrier because it's all sound design. So we're going to get into that. We're going to play a couple Audiojacks, and then we're going to ask the audience to share the stories that you come up with. We're going to listen to an Audiojack with our eyes closed, and we're going to listen to it a second time, and then you can brainstorm and share what you came up with. And we're going to see how everyone uses it here in our session. But I'm also going to be curious to find out how you use it in the classroom, or how you would see this using. If you don't use it, what are your ideas? How would you see Audiojack used? And then we'll share some examples of how it is used out there in the world. And it's fantastic. It's used in a lot of literary programs, art programs, and also for orientation and mobility, by letting people get familiar with scenarios and environments before actually experiencing them. So that was an earful, Betsy. What do you think? Pretty thorough?
I think it is pretty thorough. We do have a question from Jim.
Excellent.
He wants to know if we'll be putting our sharing in the chat, or where should we should be doing our writing.
That's a great question, Jim. We can do it in the chat if you like. And if anyone wants to share their video or audio, can we allow people into this as well too? I think if they want to, or is it easier if we just do it in the chat?
We can certainly do it in the chat. What we also can do when we're ready for the sharing portion is I can promote folks to panelists. If you'd like to be able to be seen and heard and be able to share your writing, you can just accept that panelist request when we get to there, and it'll bump you up and we'll be able to hear you and see you. Otherwise, put it in the chat. We can also allow you to talk while still remaining with your screen off if that's your preference.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. If you want to share and chat with us live and use your voice, absolutely. You don't have to have your camera on if you want, or if you do, either way. But the chat is open. That discussion is constantly going. And so one of the things I wanted to let you know is we're going to explore it. I'm going to jump in. So Audiojack, you can get Audiojack by going to the APH website and searching Audiojack. We're also going to put the link here, which is already, if you see Betsy put that in, it's the APH Launch Audiojack. And the really neat thing is that when you use that link to get a subscription for Audiojack, a portion of the proceeds go back to APH. So you're actually helping the program out as well as getting something awesome. One thing people do ask a lot is this a really expensive program? Is this going to cost us a lot of money to get on board before we get involved in this? The answer is no. We very much pride ourselves on the fact that this is extremely affordable. If you buy an annual subscription, it comes out to $1.25 per month per user. That's it. If you want to go monthly and try it out, it's $2.99 per month. and you can cancel anytime. A lot of programs have been getting this, so your program may already have it. I know California School for the Blind uses it, Texas School for the Blind, Arizona School for the Blind. Maryland, I believe we have some people from Maryland's library using it as well. We have a presentation in January with them coming up. And programs all over have been using Audiojack, but definitely check that your parent organization may already have a subscription for you. If they don't, very easy to pick that up. But I think all that business aside, we can come back to that later. I think we should just jump in and do one. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think the best way to learn about Audiojack is to experience one for yourself.
Excellent. Well, that gives me also an opportunity to show off some of the new features. So I'm going to share my screen. And for those of you that are working remote, Audiojack works perfectly with Zoom. It's super easy. You hit the share my screen option, then you look through here, you see it says, oh, iPad AirPlay, hit share sound, hit the share button. And then sometimes it asks you to install an update, which is crazy because I just used this a couple hours ago, and there's the update. It's done. Then you find your screen mirroring option. You'll see your device pop up. And then now we're inside my iPad. How about that? Isn't that fancy? So there you go. As you can see, there's a bunch of different categories to choose from. I know a lot of orientation and mobility instructors really like the life category. These are experiences that we come across in our daily life that allow people to experience them in the comfort of their home and also play and talk them out as well. And then the history ones are really neat because you feel like you're in different moments of time. The action adventure is just wild. But the thing I want to show you that you may not know is some of the new features. We got a lot of people asking us for two things. One of them was, why can't I listen to this offline? I go to areas that don't have good internet or bad cell phone service or whatever. Can you please create an offline option? Well, we did. If you hit the download section in here, audio jacks that you've selected for offline listening are all waiting there to be heard offline for you. They're already set up. And to do that, you would just go to an audio jack and then you press the little arrow at the bottom and wait a second, it'll say downloading, and then it'll be set for offline listening as soon as it's complete. And then if you don't want that for offline anymore, if it's taking too much space, you just press the button again and then it goes away. And then you're set to go. And so that was something a lot of O&M teachers were actually reaching out about because they travel and they visit and they're on location. And I know that can be a problem. So that was something. But then also what we're going to do, and the reason we're calling it Play It Again, is we have created a playlist feature because some people wanted it would stop after it and then it would play again or it would continue. They wanted to have the ability to put more audio jacks together, to tell a story, to let it go on longer. And so that's what this does now. I've created one I called Live Forever based on the title of one of our audio jacks. And you put a bunch of different ones in here and then you can play and go. But before we get into all that, we're going to jump in and play one for you. I think it's kind of fun to do something from the action adventure category to start. I know that's always been a neat one. And we also do have some other that are a little bit more ambiguous, but there is a quick action adventure one that I thought would be kind of fun. This one is from our, actually, how long is this one? This one is a little bit too long, I apologize. It is a one we did pretty recently. I think it's kind of fun. I think you'll enjoy it. And so what we're gonna do is we're going to close our eyes and we're going to just listen. And I think the audio jack that I want to do, it's about 6 minutes long, 7 minutes long, actually, which is actually kind of fun. This is from one of our Halloween ones. Betsy, you okay with that? Doing a 7 minute long audio jack?
I think
it's
perfect.
a fun one. Yeah. And we're going to listen to it once, and then you guys can decide if you want to hear it again to write your story. But if you want to hear it just once to get an idea, we can explore more audio jacks from different categories. And I'd love to hear what you want to hear as well. If there's a particular category or something that you're curious about, let us know. And then we'll show you how the playlist feature works. But for now, we're just going to listen, and there's a repeat option, but we're going to skip that. So for you at home, I'm going to mute my microphone, and I suggest, and Betsy will too as well. And we're just going to sit back, relax, and let your imagination go. And remember, this is from the action adventure category, so it's going to be a little fun. So that's about it. I think we're ready. Sound good? All right, here we go. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. And then remember, there's no wrong answer. It's whatever you want it to be. Here we go.
Caution. Enter security access code. Access denied. Warning. 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 Activate. System overload. Stand by. Systems accessed.
All right, there we go. So there's your first sampling of an audio jack. I'd love to hear the stories that you came up with, and please start to put those in the comments. If anyone wants to share auditorially, please let us know the story that it evoked. If it did something, was it in a first person or third person? Was it day? Was it night? Was it even on planet Earth? I don't know. It's whatever you want it to be. And then some of you mentioned you had some issues with the audio. Zoom will do that sometimes. All the audio jack content is used with the files we have are arranged. We use binaural elements, we use ambisonic and stereo plus surround sound and other elements with these to build them, so you do get a full 360 experience. Zoom can flatten it sometimes, and that does happen there. But I'd love to hear some stories. And Betsy, did anything come to mind for you on that one?
I was just thinking about this and the kind of juxtaposition between the sound engineer who's creating the audio jack. They know exactly in their mind what's happening as they're building the audio jack, and it's up to the viewer to find their own subjective reasoning behind it. And it really is all based on the kind of media we consume and what it reminds us of. I was really getting a strong large embedded monster coming up from underground, and maybe some hatchlings coming up as well. The tremor really felt like the earth was moving and shaking, and for me, I was able to experience it in stereo, and I was feeling myself being pulled in different locations. So I definitely got that first person perspective. But to me, I got this sense of a looming monster coming up that had, this ancient curse and maybe some smaller elements.
I love that idea for a movie.
You can take it.
See, that's the thing about this. It's like, oh my God, if I had the ability to make movies, like the stories I hear, like that's really cool. I like that it's like this coming of this monster, like that ominous coming out there. Jim wrote, the security section picture as you approach the ship. Oh, I like that. What kind of ship? Was it a boat ship, or are we talking spaceship, Jim? Gonna need a little more context on that one. I'm very curious.
And Jim, I can allow you to talk.
Oh, here we go.
You'd like.
Yeah.
You can unmute yourself.
Hey, Jim, you're live.
Hello, am I here?
You
Yes,
are.
sir.
We can hear you.
Well, the security cameras takes the picture as he approaches the ship. He climbs the stairs, toe heel, amazing flexibility for the ankle bones of a Predator robot.
Ooh, okay.
He goes to the nuclear reactor area, more plutonium than Hanford made during the old Cold War. Alarms go off as he upgrades the shielding with something from his utility belt, because the robot knows they're trying to get him. As he moves about the ship, looking out the window to see which galaxy they're in now, because you travel fast when there's a wormhole behind you. He discovers the other forces embedded in the ship, which attempt to bring him down, but he evades and eludes them rather than killing them, because destruction leaves marks, and he wants to remain invisible and unknown.
I love that. That was so well written, and the idea is crazy.
Yeah, I love that you were writing from the perspective of another species, this robot with the articulated ankles that's able to heel toe step up the stairs. I think that was a really fun perspective to write from. And the idea, I love that we're in this wormhole, so we're jumping galaxy to galaxy. Where am I now? But I don't want to be detected. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's super awesome. I love this concept. Thank you for sharing. That was really neat. And Jim, how would you see this being used? How would you see Audiojack being used? This is your first, I know,
This
dive
is
into
my
it.
very first time, so I haven't spent a lot of time wrapping my mind around this idea. I thought Audiojack was a guy who sold headphones, but and then switched to earbuds to modernize. I think one of the uses I would see for it is if you're experiencing writer's block. Let's say you suppose you sit down and you say, I have to write something, like a comedy room where they say, I must be funny in the next 3 sentences.
Yeah.
But nothing comes and you don't think of anything. I would think playing audio jacks would free up your mind and start giving you some grist. You'd hear people running or music playing or a buzz saw, or you'd hear different sounds, and that would just get the juices going. So I would see it as an imagination enhancer. When you're having writer's block, well, just play with it and see what comes. And then maybe you can use it in chapter 12 of that novel you're stuck in or whatever. So I would think this would be great for writers who are just simply stuck. My wife used to do a lot of writing, and there was a time when I did some. And, a lot of people talk about writer's block, but I haven't heard too many people talk about writer's unblock. Now, I would think this might be the first project you could, if you got tired of the name Audiojack and you wanted to go to a niche audience, you could call it Writer's Unblock. This will pump your head full of more ideas and you could figure out what to do with.
I love that idea. I'm actually writing that down because it's amazing. It's funny because I see Betsy smiling, and I think I know she's thinking here. What's really interesting, Jim, is so Audiojack is used in a lot of writing programs in everything from the elementary level all the way through collegiate for writing. And there's actually activities inside the app, which I'll show when we do our next Audiojack here, which have writing activities in it. So you hit the nail right on the head with that. That's a fantastic use case for something like this, and it's actually being used in that world. So bravo to you, my friend.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I had fun hearing your story. And we got another one here that Allison wrote. And she said, after hours at the CIA investigating a UFO on the bottom level with metal staircases, going in and out of high security areas, a shootout with some of the beings in the UFO. Oh, I like that. I think that's cool. So the CIA jumped in to see what was going on, and then they snuck around and eventually got the battle at the end. I like that both of yours had this kind of like, investigative kind of narrative running through them. Very interesting.
Yeah, and I'm just, kind of marveling at this with the specificity of the sound design. Like multiple people are sharing this idea of raising from beneath. Like there's this real, it's not just feet going on a stair, it's up the stairs. Like that we were all kind of feeling that motion as well, that it's so specific that it's triggering something in multiple people. This idea of like being depth underneath. Yeah, the depth.
Yeah, and so there, we don't tell you what the actual story is behind any of these audio jacks because that would ruin it for everyone. But I will let you know that we do think about those elements when an audio jack is created, about being able to create. I won't tell you whether it's up or down or left or right, but we do think about those elements, and that's how we do use the sound in the different kinds of sound formats to give you motion and allow everyone to kind of connect to that motion on their own as well. So spot on, neat, very cool. Anyone else like to share their stories that they came up with on that one, either through audio or chatting? If not, we can move on and I think do another one, and I can show you a couple other elements of the app if you like.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any other hands.
Okay,
and I know folks would probably like to see what some of the activities are that
absolutely
are suggested by Audiojack.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me share my screen once again here. And I do love how easy, like there's so many different apps out there. Like I hate using Teams, it is terrible for sharing, I have to say, but Zoom makes it so easy. So yeah, so as I mentioned that, and the app works on any device. It'll work on Android, iOS. There's also a web version. So after you get your subscription on the website through the APH link, you can use that same username and unlock it on the website if you only have that, or if you have an app, you can use it to do that. So you take your username everywhere you go, kind of like a Netflix account. But yeah, here we are in the app. And so as I mentioned, there's activities. And Jim was talking about story. Well, there's one in here called the story. So, to unblock that writer's block. And the first steps of every activity are the same. We'll listen to it once with our eyes closed, but then you listen to the same audio jack a second time. That way you can brainstorm and actually formulate what you heard, because you just heard it for the first time. You're like, whoa, the story's going this way, that way. Well, if you hear it a second time, you can really hone it in and make it what you want it to be. So there's one here called the story, and essentially it'll keep playing while, you keep it on repeat while you're writing. And then when the time is up, read the stories, but keep the audio jack playing so you're not working in silence. And so you're also being stimulated by the content. A really neat one as well too, is speaking in the story space, is called split story. This is a little bit about if you ever played the game Telephone when you were a kid, where someone would start a story and you go around the room and hear how it would change. Imagine doing that with an audio jack. You get through the brainstorming process and you start writing your story, and then 5 minutes later, you pass your story to someone else and they start finishing it. And then 5 minutes later, they pass it to someone else, and eventually it gets back to you. And so and then you're building on someone else's. You all heard the same audio jack, but everyone's starting their story differently, and you get to take it in different areas. It's a really fun activity. And a lot of this harkens back to the work we do in the education space. If you go to the Audiojack website, there's tons of data on there. There's research that we've done. We work with the BRAIN program at UC Riverside. We work with education programs that use it across the board. And you'll really see a lot of familiar people as well in the education space, in the visually impaired world, in a video we have on there too. And I think that's really the kind of neat thing of it. And there are other activities I want to mention. There's one called the mirror, where you're kind of writing at the same time as someone else and you compare. The art storyboard is following along the lines of a movie. I mean, these are all very cinematic. I mean, what you were all mentioning, which is really fantastic. So, this goes through the structure on how to actually create a story, giving it a beginning, middle, and end, and working with different elements in the story, and then acting it out to the audio jack. It's a tool. You can do whatever you want with it. And so I think we should jump into another category, because we do have a little bit of time to hear another one. I'd like to open the audience. Would anyone seeing these categories here, other than the AR category, that's augmented reality. That's something we're actually retiring. It's a project we did with Bose and just wrapped up with. But any of these other categories someone wants to hear one from? We already did action adventure, but just type it in the chat if you want. The first one we see is what we will jump into. Life. Allison, you got it. Bam, here it is.
And David, it might be good to mention that for folks who are maybe on the fence and they want to listen more to Audiojack, you can download Audiojack onto your phone, and there is one Audiojack that is free and available to all listeners in all of these categories. So it's a great way to kind of test it out and see what it's like and what all the categories sound like.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point to mention that, Betsy. Yeah, there are a free audio jack in every single category. So you can download the app for free. You don't have to enter in any information. We don't collect any of your data. And I know we should be like all the other companies, but we just don't. We need a first name, a last name, and an email address. And that can be whatever you want, just so you have a way to log in and also retrieve your information in case you lose your password. That's all we care about. And yeah, you can just jump right in. You don't even have to enter in that information if you want to try it out for free. It's already ready to go in the App Store. So Betsy, I don't know, we've got a couple different ones here. We got a little bit of time. Should we do I kind of want to do NYC. I kind of want to go to New York a little bit. You up for that one?
Let's do it.
All right, cool. It's a relatively quick one. And so for those of you in the visually impaired space, we've talked about how this can be used as a great writing tool and activity. Now I want you to put yourself in the perspective of someone who's working with orientation and mobility, and think about how something like this might be a tool, and then we can chat afterward. But also I want to hear your stories that you come up with. So without further ado, I'm gonna mute myself, and we're gonna jump in and we're gonna listen to NYC. Enjoy.
All right, David, I think you're muted. You're muted.
Okay, I have to hold down my space bar because the normal unmute is not working. So
Oh,
you can
no.
hear me now, right?
We got you.
Yeah, we got you now.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, there you go. Hey, so there we are. There is a bit from the life category, and Zoom is being all funky today, but I love that one. And what's really neat about these is, just so you know, these are hundreds and hundreds of sounds that are edited together to tell the story. That was not just someone walking around just recording what was happening. That was all designed to create the story that you hopefully came up with. And but Paul, you know, I didn't ask you on the other one, but did anything come to mind on this one for you? Did you come to anything mind on this one?
So yeah, that one was, it was interesting because, you know, you feel like you're just sort of maybe you're a tourist, you're in a place you don't know. I don't know if I would have recognized what city that was without the name of it, but I just kind of felt like a lost tourist. Since I'm not a super big city person, I felt like I was just kind of wandering around in the city, just going from place to place, not really sure where I was going, and then finally ended up traveling back home. But I kind of felt like I was a wandering, unfamiliar traveler.
I like that. I think that's a really interesting way of looking at it. And yeah, that is one we called NYC because there are some elements that were recorded there for that. But a lot of these other ones, it doesn't have to be that. It could just be that element of being in a city and an element. That's really neat. What about you, Betsy? What came to mind on that one?
Well, I lived in New York City briefly when I worked for Roundabout Theater Company, and I had a terrible day at work there where I had to move a rack of costumes from one end of Times Square to the other. And so, I mean,
Oh, please tell me you had to use the subway.
No, I didn't. So when the
Okay.
subway came, I was like, oh, thank God that I could get on at 59th and take it down. But I really put myself in my own shoes and was reliving this experience. Opening the door onto the street, you get not only that rush of sound, but that rush of smell. For me, it was like heavy summer. You've got that New York City garbage smell. The heat is oppressive. So it really took me back to a moment in my own life.
That is awesome. I like that. I like there's a connection to something there. Would anyone else like to share? With Jim, we didn't put your hand down. It's still up in here in the chat. I'm going to put it down just in case. So if you want to raise your hand, I can't actually do that. But Jim, if you want to share, please jump in. Yeah, jump in, or anyone else. I'd love to hear your stories or how that relates. If there are any O&M instructors in the audience, I would love to hear your feedback on how a tool like this applies to that space. Because I think it's really interesting to see. Oh, Jim, hey, there you are.
It's fat finger syndrome. I went to hit Alt-H and I accidentally hit Alt-Y. I apologize. I was going for chat and I raised my hand a few.
Oh, it's okay. Hey, well, now we got you here, Jim. What are you thinking? What were you going to write in the chat?
Well, I guess I would have thought this was New York. I'm reading a detective novel that happens in the 80s, and part of it's in New York, and has a very idiosyncratic description of the brakes on the subway. So I probably would have guessed New York, because when you hear that train, I mean, they don't say Pelham 1, 2, 3, but it does sound like I thought it was a New York subway.
And you get that classic stand clear of the closing doors.
Well, I suppose like just the same as if they'd said mind the gap, you'd have known you're in London.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we're not on the tube here.
Yeah.
Well, that's really, really, really cool to hear that. And then, do you work in the visual impairment space? Or are you visually impaired yourself, Jim?
Yes, to both. I'm guilty on both counts.
Nice. Well, as someone in that world, how do you see this connecting to the element of orientation and mobility? I'd be curious to hear your thoughts.
Well, a big deal in orientation mobility is aid solicitation. I was walking down 2nd Avenue in Seattle one day, and a woman came sprinting across and kicked my cane all the way out to the middle of the avenue. And I'm standing there and I'm thinking, is it legal for me to step out there and get killed while I get it? Should I just stand here helplessly? Would tears help? And finally, my instructor walked up to me and said, boy, you really do get yourself stuck, don't you? So hearing someone just walking around the city kind of made me think of some of my drop-off lessons. You cannot aid solicit. You must figure out where you are by the sounds around you and get yourself back to the agreed upon target destination. And so I think that would be good, because if you were making this through sound design, you would pepper it with the sounds that you're supposed to know. This is a bakery, or that's the Pike Place Market in Seattle, or whatever, the doorless door in Portland, the old Myron Frank. And you would have idiosyncratic sounds that the student is supposed to already know. And that would be good to do some of that while sitting in a chair, because sometimes when you do it out on the street, trying to get back home so that you might be able to have dinner that day, sometimes you're in such a state that it's hard to do. So this would help you develop those skills in a lot less desperate and environment. So I think it could be really helpful.
That's great, Jim. Thank you for that. And Betsy, did you want to comment on that? I saw you, or are you just reacting to his story?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do really appreciate that ability to try things in a really safe environment for the first time, instead of in an environment that might be dangerous, might be changing, to become familiar with sounds in a place where you have that security to be able to negotiate through the challenges without putting yourself in actual danger. Yeah, and I see Allison commented. Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw that, and that's great. We do have one called Twilight Traffic in the life category as well that does kind of focus on the traffic element of it. And she writes, I'm an O&M specialist, and I could see Audiojack being a helpful tool, especially if there were sounds of intersection and listening to the sounds of surges of parallel traffic and the slowing down and surging of traffic. And there are those, if you listen to the Twilight Traffic one, and we made that with that in mind. And if you do listen to it, I'd love to hear some feedback as well. Feel free to email david@audiojack.com, or any of us, APH, anyone at APH too. They'll be able to get us the message. I think that's really interesting. Yeah, thank you, Allison. Yeah, it's a really neat way to do this. I've heard from other instructors. I mean, I've heard from a lot of people that parents like using Audiojack if they have someone who's visually impaired at home, because it puts them both on the same level. They can engage together, and there's no wrong answer, and it allows them to experience it with them. But also for those, there it is, davidaudiojack.com. Yeah, there are for those people that do want to be able to do this. Like if you had to go to, a crowded area, you could play this for someone ahead of time and maybe potentially desensitize them a little bit, or get them more comfortable with those sounds, so it's not so jarring when they arrive. We're working on one for a shopping mall as well right now, but it's been a little tricky. So it might turn into it's either going to end up being a supermarket or a shopping mall. I'm trying to think which one. We might do both, but working on those right now. Actually, are both in progress. And yes, the shopping cart. We'll do both. I'll say, hey, yeah, and yes, and just so I know you're all. The question that is probably on the tip of everyone's tongue is, yes, of course, the shopping cart will not go straight. It will definitely have a busted tire, and it will make a terrible sound at some point, because it has to be authentic. Yeah. We only have a little bit of time left. This went by much faster than I'm surprised. Wow. Are there any other questions or comments or things I can answer, or for us to chat about before we do wrap it up? Anyone have any thoughts or anything? Paul or Betsy as well too. If not, this has been fantastic.
Yeah, in our final 10 minutes, we do obviously want to make sure that you guys have links to where to get Audiojack. So I'm going to grab those from up in the chat. You, of course, can download it wherever you get your apps onto your phone and try it out. And hopefully these two that we've listened to today, these are both two, I think I've heard New York City, the NYC one before, but the adventure one was new to me today. And so it just is a good reminder that Audiojack is always coming up with new Audiojacks. You've always got to check in and see what's new. And I'm excited about the playlist feature, because I was even thinking like you're in New York City and then all of a sudden we listen to an action adventure and we take ourselves from kind of a normal day into another world, and kind of trying to figure out in your story what that switch is, thinking about that inciting event, what sets the action in motion, and how does it transform this person's average day. Could be really fun.
Yeah, it's really neat. And it really also too, if you are doing lessons, you want people to experience it and have longer time with it, you can, add multiple to the playlist as well. And do that. Yeah. And yeah, please go to, so what you do is when you go to this link here for APH for products Audiojack, when you go there, you can read through and there'll be a button on there. And so with that, you can click and it will take you to the Audiojack website to purchase a subscription. When you do that, we'll be notified and we'll send a portion back to APH, but make sure you get it through that way. And that subscription will be able to be used on any device. You don't have to go to the App Store or anything like that. And I think that's about it. Do you have anything else, or are you good there, Betsy? I think Paul.
I think we're good to wrap up. Do you guys have any events that I know that you guys do a listening most weeks?
Oh, we do. Yeah,
that's
right. You know what? We do have another one every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, and this is also in the About section on the Audiojack website. Yeah. But every Tuesday at 11 a.m. we do a live Audiojack session, which is very similar to what we do. It's open to anyone. Classrooms join, other people join from different programs. Sometimes it's a couple, sometimes it's tons. It's something we've been doing. There is one coming up this Tuesday. It's on Zoom. There's a Zoom link. You add it to your calendar and you show up and it's awesome. And then there's some times where we'll take a week off or whatever. So if you pop in and we're not there, we'll probably be back the next week. But it's almost every single week. We've been doing it for over 1.5 years now. And it's a resource that's free and open to anyone in case you want to try it again or bring your class.
Awesome. Great.
Great.
And any holiday Audiojacks we should look out for?
The Halloween one is our holiday Audiojack we do. And that one is called Hacknomancer. And we just released that one. And we did that as a collaboration with a woman. Her name is Amy Dansby. She was on the show Lego Masters on Fox. She's a really well-known white hat hacker, has worked for some amazing corporations and done a lot of good work in the world. So we made a custom Audiojack using some of the sounds in her environment. And during October, we actually did a portion of our proceeds for a week, went directly to a scholarship that she created for girls in STEM, and Microsoft matched that dollar for dollar, which was really nice. So that Audiojack is is fantastic in the action adventure category called Hacknomancer. That's our new one. And then we'll be getting the mall and shopping center ones out pretty soon.
Oh man, that's going to trigger some old memories. That mall one. I'm looking forward to that.
I got to find out how to get a sound of an Orange Julius. That's all I need.
That machine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, awesome.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much again for having me. This has been wonderful.
Yeah, thank you to our audience for joining around. Paul, if I'm going to show our final screen, if you want to wrap us up.
Yeah, just don't forget, everybody, that you have a couple of options. As David said, you can download the app if you want to try it. Just listen to a couple before you make a decision. That's fine. But please use the link that we are providing you now if you're going to make a purchase. It doesn't matter if you already have the app, go make the purchase with that link. If you would, please, you could get a $2.99 monthly subscription, or you can subscribe for $14.99 for the year. If you lose the link, you can search for Audiojack on the APH homepage and you'll get to the same destination. You'll put in your information. If you haven't created the account, you'll create it. If you have, you can log in and finish the process that way. So whatever is you're most interested in doing, but please, if you're going to make the purchase, use that link. APH benefits, and it's the same situation for Audiojack. It's no different for them, but it does help APH, and we would appreciate that as well.
Awesome. Well, David, it's always a joy to have you and have Audiojack on. We will be checking back in with you in 2022. So guys, stay tuned and we'll be listening to more Audiojacks then.
Sounds good. Have a good one, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.